The Jets and Bills wind up splitting this year. The Jets fall to 7-6, losing their second straight game for the first time this season. Here are my top 5 takeaways.
Jets, Jets!
What do you walk away with today? Do you feel like this is a missed opportunity here? What's your emotion? Right?
Obviously, I love our guys. They fight their tails off, but I think I speak for everyone in that we're missing out. We're going to see these guys again, so.
What makes you say that?
I just think we are.
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, the New York Jets fall to the Buffalo Bills 20-12. The Jets fall to 7-6 on the season. This is the first time this year the Jets have had back-to-back losses, and this makes the Minnesota game hurt that much more. That's kind of where I'm at on this. This was a brutal game. There's no point in the offseason or throughout the entirety of this regular season where I thought the Jets were going to be able to sweep the Bills. And I'm proud that given all the things that went on today, the Jets were in position to do just that. But we wound up falling by the way of 20-12, and there was just a whole lot to not like about this game, with a little bit of things to like. So there's a little bit to go over here. But let's talk a little bit about the playoff situation and everything that where we're sitting right now. Right now, we are in the 7th seed. The Patriots do still have to play. If they win and the Jets and Patriots are tied, the Jets would be knocked out of the playoffs momentarily. Obviously, the Jets are going to have to stay one game up on the Patriots. Tonight's game with the Dolphins and Chargers is absolutely critical for the New York Jets, because if the Chargers lose to Miami, the Jets will clinch the common opponents line item as far as tiebreakers go. So if you go to tiebreakers with the Chargers, then you wind up having the Jets and Chargers at conference matchup. Right now, the Jets are 5-5 in the conference. Chargers are 4-4 in the conference. After that is common games played. So this is a big game. If the Chargers lose, not only do the Jets stay a game ahead of them, but they also have that tiebreaker as well. So not the first one, but still an important one, especially when the Jets don't have many tiebreakers to speak of. Pretty important game right here. But let's jump into my top 5 takeaways. I want to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. We'll unpack everything. I want to hear your thoughts on each of the topics down below in the comment section. First up, little bit of good news. I want to talk about the defense here. This was an all-time game for the Jets defense. They continue to just be one of the best units. I think it's the best unit in the NFL, even though they're ranked like 3rd or 4th or whatever. I trust these guys to go up against any team. We've gone against 2 of the best teams in the league and had some really nice performances across the board. Josh Allen was held to a season-low 147 passing yards. Stefon Diggs has a season-low 37 receiving yards. The Bills punt 8 times, at the most since 2018, and the Bills were also a 15% conversion rate on 3rd downs. That is the season low for them as well. Not to mention we got some really nice performances out of some of our guys. Sauce Gardner only gave up 1 catch for 6 yards. He now has a 39% completion percentage when thrown his direction as the nearest defender. That is number 1 in the NFL. This dude is living up to every bit of that number 4 overall pick. This guy's like the best cornerback in the league, and he's only in his first year. This is incredible. I can't get me enough of Sauce Gardner. On the other side, or not other side, but up front, Quinnen Williams, we'll talk about the injury stuff, in a little bit. This dude played a quarter and a half, had 3 tackles and 2 sacks. This guy was on pace to have the best game of his career while also capturing the interior defensive line sack leader target from Chris Jones. Quinnen Williams is an absolute beast, and you can see the difference. Bills didn't score any points while Quinnen Williams was on the field. Once Quinnen Williams went off the field at the end of the second quarter, that's when the points started happening. Losing Quinnen Williams, we got to see what this defense could look like in the future. And I think this is even more of a reason to pay our guy. We got really lucky here. Really, really lucky. I mean, just across the board. Let's just talk defense before we talk the injuries and stuff. I want to go into the injuries a little bit more specifically over there. But like Jermaine Johnson running up the gut on a punt to get a blocked punt for a safety put us down by 2 scores instead of 3 scores. The whole The whole team fights the entire game, and it is not more clear than how the Jets have performed the last few weeks here. And when I look at Jermaine Johnson and I see the caliber of play that he's given the Jets so far, he's probably our least touted early pick that we've had recently. And it's not to any fault of his own. It's just because we have Lawson and we have all these other guys on the defensive line. But I do expect JJ to have more opportunities next year, and I think he's really going to start to shine. He's been a great, well-rounded pass rusher and run stuffer and just everything across the board. He's as advertised right now. Defense, really not too much to complain about when you have a performance like this here. On the offensive side of the ball, we have two incredible young rookies, and that's not even including the guy that probably would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year in Breece Hall, who's obviously out for the season with an ACL tear. Garrett Wilson sets the Jets rookie record for receiving yards in a game. In a season. Today, he had 6 receptions, 78 yards. On the season, he has 62 receptions, 852 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That does beat Keyshawn Johnson, who did it in 14 games. He must have missed some time during that time. And then Garrett Wilson, also in 14 games, which really makes you think, like, what would Garrett Wilson have done if he had competent quarterback play, like through a 7-game stretch in the middle of the season? Or at least, I should say 5-game stretch. He had 2 good games with Zach. But there's like a stretch there when you look at his stats, it's like, that doesn't look good. So these are like weird stats that you have to look at here. But this is impressive. Garrett Wilson has 4 more games to add on to this total. I expect him to blow past 1,000 yards. Hopefully he gets the touchdown record too. Keyshawn has that at 8 touchdowns. If he gets a touchdown a game, he'll at least tie that. I'd like to see him get all the Jets receiving records. That would be kind of cool. And then Bam Knight. Talk about an undrafted free agent. Joe Douglas, for all the people that give him shit for like, oh, Zach Wilson might be a bust at the number 2 overall pick. Oh, not Denzel Mims. Mekhi Becton, number 11 overall pick. He's a bust, can't stay on the field. This dude finds talent everywhere. Breece Hall was picked off the scrap heap. Not Breece Hall. Bryce Huff. Got too many of these guys. Bryce Huff. Picked off the scrap heap. You got Bam Knight, undrafted free agent. You have Quincy Williams, Braxton Berrios, like literally plucking talent. John Franklin Myers. He's finding talent everywhere. And Bam Knight, if we didn't have Breece Hall, we have a number 1 running back in Bam Knight. I cannot wait for next season when we get Breece Hall, Bam Knight, and Michael Carter all in the backfield. It'll be the strongest 3-headed running game you'll see in the NFL. Like, Bam Knight should be starting for other teams. This guy is electric. Between him and Breece, something special for sure. Breece had 19 touches today, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Just missed 3 straight games with 100 yards. Really thought he was going to get it. 298 yards in 3 games from Bam Knight. Could you imagine if some of the issues that we had today on offense didn't happen and we had a few more offensive plays? Maybe Bam Knight gets that threshold crossed. Dude, I'm excited for this young talent. This offense overall, from the skill position perspective, and I probably should have thrown up Elijah Moore too. Elijah Moore had himself a pretty decent game as well, but very happy with what we got out of Bam and Garrett Wilson. Fun side note on the Garrett Wilson throw, it was in the 4th quarter, one of the last throws. He puts Tre'Davious White in a blender. Like, this is the former All-Pro corner for the Bills getting toasted by a rookie. So it makes me feel good to be able to see this coming for the next few years. Definitely like that. Next up, I want to talk about injuries and miscues. This is the big area of concern. Obviously, the first trigger, I think, for most people was the Quinnen Williams injury. He goes down halfway through the second quarter. He had 2 sacks, 3 tackles on the day prior to going out. This guy was having an elite production day, and he was clearly causing havoc in the backfield for the Buffalo Bills. Him going down, it seems like it's just a calf injury. Here's what Robert Saleh had to say on the Quinnen injury.
No, it's a calf.
Okay, because sometimes guys
Yeah.
teams.
No, we're not worried.
You rule that out.
Yeah.
Does it appear to be potentially long term?
What I got right now is day to day is from the trainers. They feel like he's got a chance to make it this week.
it seems like Quinnen's going to be day-to-day with a good shot of him playing potentially against the Lions. Obviously, with some of our injury news and whatnot, I kind of want to wait a day just to make sure he's actually healthy. Last time, we thought he might be all right. We wind up tearing ACLs and stuff like that. So hopefully Quinnen's dodging a bullet here and he's able to really show out the rest of the season, because this dude has some really, really serious potential here, and the Jets got to pay this dude. Absolutely got to pay him. Now, we'll go kind of in order of some of the frustration here. The CJ Mosley jump on 4th and 1 at midfield that gave the Bills a first down was crushing. Absolutely crushing. The Jets were getting the ball back. 4th and 1 from the 50. This was a field position game, and the Bills were gonna punt the ball. You knew as soon as they went up to the line. The announcers talking about it, sitting there talking about they're gonna try and call you offsides. Don't jump. Don't jump. Don't do it. This has got to be on coaching. It's got to be on playing. CJ Mosley, I know you know better. You had a great game outside of that one play, critical one play. Now, you don't know that's going to be the difference maker at the end of the game, but at the time when you watch it, you're like, that is going to be hard to overcome. And then you see it go down the field, and then Michael Carter, the cornerback, he has 2 penalties on him throughout the day. He has a penalty that leads eventually to the Knox touchdown as well. So, going into half 7-0, if you told me that going into the game we'd be down 7-0 at halftime, it's really not that bad. But to see it happen the way it happened was really, really frustrating to see, because the Jets played a stellar defensive performance outside of that one drive, really, or at least in my opinion. And then on the other side of the ball, talk about miscues and injuries and whatnot. Because Corey Davis winds up going down early in this game. Like on the play that Mike White finds him on a 3rd and long, Corey Davis climbs the ladder, gets the ball. He's been so clutch in terms of his reliability for young quarterbacks, but the injury stuff and him not being available on the field is the stuff that probably gets me the most frustrated here. That and some of the pre-snap penalties. We had a few pre-snap penalties. I mentioned the Mosley one earlier, but like Corey Davis did have a false start early in this game. I think we had a holding, which put us in long first down situations, which ultimately gets you in long 3rd down situations. I want to say at one point, I think it was in the first half, we were an average of 3rd and 9, which is bonkers. Like, your offense is not going to operate well when you're operating at a 3rd and 9 on a consistent basis. Just not going to happen. So after that frustration, then you talk about the fumbles and the hits, and we'll talk about Mike White specifically in a little bit and the hits and the injuries there. But you look at the one play. Mike White gets clocked. He's out for, at this point, I'm thinking he's done for the game. This is the big one, right? Flacco comes in, starts a drive, and then you have Fant go out as well. And like what feels like the first play after, or very close after, the right tackle, Remmers, gives up the pressure to hit Joe Flacco to fumble the ball, to give the ball back to the Bills so they can go down the field and score. And to see backups cause that issue when you have guys that were not causing turnovers or not causing issues or things of that nature. And not to put it all on Remmers, because the Jets offensive line was not great. But to see that happen is incredibly frustrating. And that was such a pivotal turnover in this game. And then later on, the Jets have a great stop. They're driving down the field. They're at least in field goal range. And Michael Carter, who's normally so sure-handed, this guy doesn't fumble the ball. To have him fumble, you just saw the body language as soon as he stood up. The players are like, dude, like, it sucks. It happens. But like, they know he's not that guy normally. It's just the worst time to have that kind of a fumble in a division game, in a close matchup, when you are starting to flip momentum the other way. This was right after the safety. This was brutal. When you think about like Braxton Berrios and Michael Carter, the last 2 weeks are normally 2 of the most sure-handed guys on this team. To have just an error, not multiple errors, literally like an error, and it cost the Jets both games. Now, Michael Carter's maybe didn't necessarily cost him the entire game, but it definitely put a damper on the potential for a comeback here. Braxton today, early on, I was very upset with how Berrios played. There were a few punts early in this game where he just let the ball bounce behind him, or he tried to get it or dodge out of the way and almost got a fumble. Like, Berrios had me all sorts of frustrated for a little bit here today. It didn't feel like a clean day from our unit, and it felt like we just could not get out of our own way in terms of, self-inflicted wounds from penalties, and then also the just injury stuff. Like, you can't prevent injuries. Football, it's always going to happen. It's always next man up. But like, the Jets are getting throttled. You're talking about losing your best defensive player in Quinnen Williams. Your best offensive lineman's already gone in AVT. You lose your arguably second best offensive lineman in Fant, kind of like based on how he played last year. You lose your starting quarterback. You lose your wide receiver one. Like, how is a team supposed to win like that? It's just to see this happen and still have an opportunity at the end of the game to try and tie it up is fascinating. It's a testament to the team that Joe Douglas put together, the coaching style of Robert Saleh, LaFleur, Ulbrich, the whole team, and Boyer, as well. This team fights the entire way through a game, and it will start to pay off. It may not be this year. We may start to see it pay off next year in some really critical areas, but this team is fighting week in and week out for their guys, and I absolutely love this. Next up, I want to talk about the offensive line because these guys got some explaining to do. This was not a good showing by the offensive line today. They gave up 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and 21 pressures, and it was awful. It was not good. Mike White was running for his life. It felt like he was getting blasted every time he set foot on the field, and he just kept coming back. We'll get into Mike White in just a second. But yeah, dude, this was not good. Fant getting knocked out for that little bit, having Remmers in there, getting the fumble, going back to the Bills. That was just critical. The running game, Bam Knight did have some success, but Michael Carter couldn't get any running room at all. And it just, like, even with White throwing the ball a whole second faster than Zach was prior to White coming in, I don't know what you do. We're down so many tackles and so many offensive linemen. The fact that they've had the 7th combination of offensive linemen here today, and we're able to sort of be competent with one of the best teams in the league, I think does say something. And I don't know. I don't know how we fix this. Like, when I'm looking into the future, I'm seeing right tackle as a serious need. I don't want to roll the dice on Max Mitchell with the blood clot situation there, all the health stuff going on with him. Becton, you obviously don't know what's going on with him, with the injuries. Brown is under contract for next year, but he's like 38 years old. It's like, what do? You got to go out and get a tackle. Jack Conklin, I'm looking at you over in Cleveland there. So who knows? Offensive line, definitely not good. Like I said, some pre-snap penalties as well. So like holdings and penalties. Like the Berrios bombed, or I shouldn't say bombed, the Berrios almost fumble inside the 5-yard line there on the punt put us in a situation where like we could not even really throw comfortably, because if you get a holding call in the end zone, it winds up being a safety. So there's like all these little miscues that wind up happening, and downs and distances and things of that nature. And luckily, obviously it didn't happen that way, but the offensive line is probably the biggest culprit as far as why we were not able to win this game. And that's mainly because Mike White got throttled and was not able to stay in the game. And 2, we just didn't have, the push I think we wanted, even though Bam Knight still had over 70 yards rushing. Just frustrating around the board. And then next, I want to talk about Mike effing White. Here's what some of the players had to say about the quarterback after the game.
Yeah, I thought he showed resolve, toughness, everything that we've been seeing. He's a good player.
Yeah, he got a lot of heart. He gonna lay it on the line for his boys, and I would do the same for him.
It just shows his grit. I feel like whenever players go down, and I feel like a lot of people were hurting out, on the field, and whenever he comes back in the game over and over and over again, it just shows his heart. So we really, I respect him for doing that, because I know that hurts. You see what I'm saying? You play quarterback, and when things start hurting, you get hit play after play after play. That's like a beating, you see what I'm saying? So it's like major respect to him.
What did it mean for everybody else, for him to just come back out there in the fourth quarter?
Yeah,
like
he showed that he's a dog. Everybody could tell that from the moment he stepped in the huddle, because he didn't want to leave his team hanging. Like, looking at the replays on some of those hits, like for him to come back and just still go out there and be able to execute with like his ribs hurting and the contact and pressure that he was taking from those hits. Like, it says a lot about Mike White as a player and as a leader on this team.
Mike White, this tough SOB, finishes the day 27 of 44, 61% completion percentage, 268 yards, and according to Robert Saleh, will start versus the Lions. And since it's a short week, and then we get the Jags on a Thursday night, realistically, he's starting against both those teams at least the next 2 weeks. I think he probably finishes out the season, unless the Jets are mathematically eliminated, which I think even then he may still wind up starting and seeing how far he can push this team. This kid is so tough. So tough. SportsCenter, Twitter posted this. Left the game in the second quarter after getting hit in the ribs. Came back 2 plays later. Got hit in the ribs again in the third quarter. Left the game second time to get x-rays. Returned to start of the fourth quarter to finish the game. Once the game went final, White left in an ambulance, was sent to the hospital for testing on potential internal injuries. This guy is a dog. Like, this is my franchise quarterback. You're talking about guys that like want to go to war for a quarterback. This guy kept getting hit and just kept coming back. You saw the look on his face. You saw the pain he was in, just getting blasted. Dwayne Brown comes out and says, I appreciate you. Like, you should not have to deal with this type of hits and whatnot. The offensive line understands they got to get better. They're not always going to be playing the Bills, but they got to get better. Mike effing White. This guy should be starting the rest of the way out. The receivers clearly click with him. 268 yards. I don't have Zach's stats right in front of me, but I would bet that's probably up there with like Zach's best performance aside from like the Patriot game. I don't know. Man, just losing Mike White for those few plays were just so crippling because you saw the Flacco fumble. I don't want to see Flacco come back in. Like, as much as I was all for Flacco being the backup and Zach sitting on the bench for right now, not being activated, I'm all good with that. But like, I don't want to see Flacco again because White's all banged up. I would prefer to have either Streveler or Zach or both be the backup next week instead of Flacco. It felt like there was no hope with Flacco. He had like 3 throws, I think, one of which was a throw to Conklin in the 2 plays that White was out. A throw to Conklin where he was wide open up the seam, just a bad pass. Mike White's in there. That's a bomb. He's getting like 20 plus yards easy on that throw. And to like see it all sort of come down to this and how this kid fights. Mike effing White's my quarterback. He is. That's not to say like Zach can't maybe be the quarterback at some point in the future. The kid's the second youngest quarterback in the league. He can sit and learn. We got to pay the guy anyway. But Mike White has earned the respect of this fan base, has earned the respect of this coaching staff, and has earned the respect, most importantly, of the players around him as well. And I think he makes everyone better by getting the ball into the playmakers' hands, by elevating people's play. Other guys will play through injuries when they see the leader of men go into the huddle after like breaking ribs or whatever the hell he did, just getting annihilated. Ugh. Mike effing White. So you heard earlier Robert Saleh saying we're going to see the Buffalo Bills again. That means Robert Saleh believes we could be getting into the playoffs. We will be getting into the playoffs. The Jets have 4 games left. Realistically, the Jets have to go at least 3-1 over these next 4 weeks. I think there's a really good shot. We may have to win out because of the tiebreaker situation that we currently find ourselves in with the Patriots. I don't love this situation, but I want nothing more than another crack at the Bills. I don't care if it's in their home stadium. I think you get our guys back healthy. The way this game finished, I think the Jets are going to come back firing all cylinders. I want a third shot at the Bills. Just like I said, I want a third shot at the Patriots, but now if the Patriots get in, it means the Jets probably don't get in. So give me the third shot against the Bills. I want the third shot. I want the equalizer, or not the equalizer, the tiebreaker. I want 2 of 3. Rock, paper, scissors, baby. Ugh. I don't know. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What'd you think of this game? What do you think about Mike White, his grittiness, his toughness? What do you think about the team overall, the play calling, all that good jazz? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.